Good afternoon, welcome back to the ME7 Podcast. We are absolutely delighted and honoured to be sat down with first team boss, Mark Bonner.
Good to see you, thanks for having me.
No problem, pleasure, absolute pleasure. Heading towards the season?
Yes.
2 weeks away, I bet you cannot wait.
I think we're looking forward to the start, yeah, because pre-season takes, like in the end, you want to get started, but at the same time, you need this time of year, so whilst there is a bit of an excitement, we've got a lot of work to do before it comes. So in the next 2 weeks, we need to keep getting fitter, keep getting better. Got a few games still to play. So yeah, once it gets started, the pace of it's going to kick off quite quickly because we've got a big couple of weeks at the start. Some tough games to begin with, but yeah, we're looking forward to getting going. We've enjoyed the first sort of month, if you like. But yeah, still plenty to do. So I'm pretty sure everyone that hasn't seen this yet or has been waiting so long to watch games are absolutely desperate for it to start. But we've been doing it every day and working really hard for the last month. We're looking forward to it, but we know we've got quite a bit of work to do still.
So this is not what we usually do. Obviously, people who watch us will know we usually ask our own questions. So we've been able to order a day off today. We've left it to the honourable public of Gillingham to send us all the questions in today. So James, you want to kick us off with the first one we've received?
Yeah. You've actually answered it somewhat, but Oscar sent in a question saying, what are you most looking forward to the new season?
I think competition is good. I think that once you get started in the game, there's something on the games a little bit more than at the moment. I mean, this time of year, players are fighting for shirts and to improve and to prove themselves all the time to a new team and in a new way of doing things. I think the competition of the real game starting is always a good thing. And seeing how we cope in those environments is going to be good. And seeing the team develop throughout the few months ahead. I think until Christmas time you see massive developments in a team, and then you get into a real rhythm in the season. So hopefully we can start well in terms of results, performances, keep showing an improvement. The boys have started well, they've got into how we want things to look, but the games are false pre-season, they're not real games. Games don't look like that in the league. There's pressure, there's people involved, there's much more competition in the game, so you can get sucked into a false sense of security or tension in pre-season, and in the end there's lots of reasons for the games, but the real stuff when it starts, I think that's what we're excited about. And we start much like our pre-season with two big games. We've got probably 5 teams in the early stage of the season that are highly thought of this year, and a really, really tough cup game. So it starts, as tough as it could do, and that'll be a good test for us.
Yeah, I bet those 2 long away trips, the last one you wanted was a trip to Swansea for Sweden.
Oh yeah, horrific draw. Absolutely horrific, being truthful. They're good side, it's a brilliant stadium, it'll be a really tough game, it'll be a good game to test ourselves against better teams and things. I think that's quite good sometimes to see that challenge, but the geography of the game couldn't have been any worse really with what we've got coming up. So it is what it is, you just got to go with what you've got and make the most of it. I guess when you have a week like that, better for it to be in August when everyone's sort of fresh and getting into the season rather than in the middle of February, March when everyone's knackered. So yeah, we'll give it a best go. But it's a nice tough start for sure.
So on the topic of pre-season, obviously we've seen a few good young performances so far. Harry Bridle scored 2 against Dartford. Harry Webster did well in the 2 home games we've seen there. Sam Gale as well. Liam has asked, has the fact that youngsters performed so well in pre-season, like the ones just mentioned, has that changed your recruitment plan at all?
I don't think it's changed the plans of recruitment. I mean, we're not going to have masses more to do because the squad's at a size that is manageable, and at the moment if we can make sure everybody's fit then we'll have the numbers, and you can only spend so much in terms of building a squad, so there won't be huge amounts to do to the squad anyway. So there's a tough balancing act between how you use or develop the young players and when you use them. And pre-season's not real. They've got to be able to maintain a really high level, and when the real stuff starts, that's when you've got to be brilliant. So I've known plenty of players that have started quite well in the first few weeks of pre-season and then disappear because they can't maintain that level. So the challenge to all of those younger ones is to find the consistency to hit the level regularly, to make the chances count when they get their moments in games, to be the best players in training. That's what they're going to have to do, because when you haven't got experience to fall back on and a previous record of showing you can do it, you need to be the hardest working, the fittest, and you need to be the best trainer, because other lads have got we know that they can do it because they've done it 50, 60, 70 times already in their career. So that's the challenge for young players. But it's good for them, and a number of them have done really well in the game so far. Some have missed a couple of games and had a few injuries, but that's probably just the intensity of training that they found difficult. But I'm looking forward to seeing how they continue to develop. It doesn't really change our plans in terms of what we were planning to do. All of those players can have a part to play in the squad at different times, I'm sure, and they need to be ready for it when it comes.
Talking of away grounds, I'm sure you are looking forward to visiting Swansea City in terms of grounds. But yeah, Daniel asked, what away ground are you most looking forward to visiting this season?
God, there's probably a few that I haven't been to, but I've been to most. So in that sense, I've probably seen quite a few. Notts County's a really nice one. MK Dons is a really nice one in terms of quality stadiums. And I'm sure there's one or two that the atmosphere will be excellent in as well. So I think there's some good grounds in the league. They're all miles away from here, but there are some good ones, and there'll be some decent atmospheres. I'm more excited about here and seeing games here and feeling the atmosphere of the home crowd. And trying to make this a place that no one wants to come to. Away games, fine, but they don't excite you like playing at home does. So that's the big thing.
I guess following up on that, because the amount of people that have come here and said when that rain event gets going, this is a real horrible place to be as an away team. Is that what you want to create as that environment?
Yeah, I mean, it won't be down to me to create it. It's down to everyone that's here, and my work won't create it. If that's what this place is, that's what this place is, whether it's me in the dugout or anybody else. So I think that the key is that we try and create a team that gives real energy in its performances, because that connection is really important, and making sure there is a joined up way between your team and your supporters is massive, because it can be really powerful. It's the biggest cliche ever, but it's so important. Your supporters can make a huge difference to your own team in terms of confidence and keeping the pressure off of them, and also to putting the other team under pressure. So yeah, the more we get of that, the better. Home form always really important in any season, and hopefully we can create that here.
This is probably quite a difficult one to answer, given what you said about pre-season already. It's from Josh, who says, who has surprised you most in pre-season? But I suppose, as you say, pre-season games don't mean too much, and it's all about the nitty-gritty of the league where you're going to find that out. But has there been anyone who sort of maybe exceeded expectations a bit so far?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because I don't want to be dismissive of performances either in pre-season, because players have done well, but it is different. It's very different when the season starts. Who surprised me? I think it's really. Maybe if I was here last year I could say that, and supporters might say it from what they've seen, or any of the staff that were here, but I've got nothing to compare it against. So every player, whether they're 16 or 40 in our squad, I don't know, I'm working with them for the first time, so every single one, clean slate from day one, great opportunity to show us what they can do. So I wouldn't say there's been so many surprises, because I haven't got a comparison other than video to look at, and you can watch games on video all you like, but until you actually meet someone, know their personality, work with them, you don't really know anything about them. So I've really enjoyed getting to know all of them. I wouldn't say I'm overly surprised by anything. I think there's some good players. I think there's a good unit of players that want to do well, and I think we've got loads that we can do better. So that's the process that we're working for. But I haven't been overly sort of surprised by any individual, because unlike everyone else, I've got nothing to compare against.
We were there. So we were both there on Tuesday at Dartford. I think what was pleasantly surprising, certainly in that second half, was that you'd had the bunch of academy boys sort of all together on the pitch in that second half, and I mean what come through is that powerful energy, they willing to get on the ball, wanting to make things happen. Has that element, and also other things that you've seen on a day-to-day, but has that been a pleasant surprise for you? Tony has asked that.
It hasn't. No, that's what I expect from young players. If you're not willing to run and work, and you're not willing to take the ball, what are you doing here? You should be good. And it's levels. If they go out on loan, they'd want to go out at a higher level or at that level. And if they're going to get in our team, they better be good at that level. So you want to get in our team, you've got to be good. So simple as that. They should be all those things. And if anyone's surprised by that, I'd be really disappointed, to be honest. They've got to be good. To get in our team consistently, and not only that, anyone can put young players in a team. If you're going to get in the team, you've got to help the team win. Yeah. And if you can do that, then you've got a chance. So that's what it's about. So do I expect the young players to be good enough to do that? Yeah. How many? I don't know. I'm really happy that when they go together and play together, it looks well oiled and good. That's a sign of good coaching that they've had previously. They're used to playing together, so that should be there. But without sounding like too Scrooge about it, like, you want to be in our team, you've got to be good. Simple as that. Like, don't be average, because you won't get in it. So I expect the ones that are meant to be goal scorers to score. I expect the ones that are meant to be creative players to create chances. I expect the defenders to be able to defend against players at that level. And there's some good players at that level, but it is about levels, and therefore, the demand is, you want to get in our team and help us be a winning team, you better be good, and you better work harder than everybody else.
Warren's sent one in saying, having seen the squad start to take shape and pre-season training well underway, if you could sign one player before the first game, what type of player would it be? And I think he's trying to do your job. He's giving you some suggestions. A leader / a hard man, whatever you entitle that as, a creative midfield player or a left back, or I suppose you can add your own as well.
What a random list of 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. We've got a really good left back and some others that can play there. I don't think I'd highlight one particular area. If we can make our team and squad stronger, we'll sign anywhere. So we're looking in every position, because we need squad depth, but we need high quality players. So we've got some good players. We've spent well, and therefore it's hard to necessarily go and get better ones. It's not easy to sign that. You can sign players all day long, but if they're only going to be in and around the bottom half of the squad and just competing, we've got good young players, we'll use them. So I think we only need to sign players if they make us better, if they fit in line with what we're trying to do, if they give us maybe a different dynamic or an opportunity to play differently. So I'm not saying there's any specific areas like that I'm after. We're sort of looking across all areas as to what we can add, but if everybody's fit and we start tomorrow, we've got a decent match day squad. So the aim really is make the team that we've got better, get the best out of the players that we've got, and if we can find players that improve that, then I'm sure we'll look to do the business.
Yeah, given the current squad and what changes you could still make, what would be your preferred formation?
I think formations are overrated, honestly. There's such an obsession about what it looks like if you wrote it down on a piece of paper, and you could freeze frame the game 1,000,000 times and it never looks like that. It sounds a bit like coaching language, really, but it's about what spaces are you covering when you've got possession, what areas do you need to be in. Like, look at our games pre-season. If you watch them games back, because of how the game went against Watford, you'd probably say we're playing 4-4-2, but that wasn't the formation that we started the game if we wrote it down on a piece of paper, but it's how the game looked in our defensive shape, because we were in a defensive shape a lot. If you watch times of the game against Dartford, it would look like we're playing a back 3. At times it looks like we've got 2 wingers on the pitch, at times like we've got 1, sometimes it looks like there's 2 forwards, sometimes it looks like 1, sometimes it looks like there's 3 midfielders, sometimes 2. So I don't think it's about what formation are we playing, it's way too simplistic. I think the game's a bit more complicated than that, and I think in the end, if you can keep people guessing about actually what is the system, we've got to get the players in the positions they can do the most damage first, and then we've got to make sure we stop the opposition as best we can. And so that takes a bit of flexibility, whether you're home or away, the context of the game, the opposition you play against, the style you play against. I think it can look different on any given day. So I wouldn't say there's necessarily a preferred formation in that sense. It's probably a little bit more fluid than that.
Max asks, what mentalities do you love to see in a player, and what mentalities do you try to drive it into a team to help them be successful? So I suppose that sort of means what is an ideal Mark Bodder kind of player to you?
Yeah, look, we spent quite a bit of time on this with the team. We've had a few workshops over the last few weeks where we've talked about what we're about as a team in terms of how we want to play, but also what do we stand for as a group of people, and what behaviours need to drive us. So we've talked about togetherness being really important. The strength of the team has to be the team. On any given day you need some match winners, you need people to pull something out of the bag, or the team to be so dominant that you can win a game. You'll have probably both of those throughout the season. But the strength of the team needs to be the team, so everyone's got to be all in for each other. We have to leave the egos at the door a little bit and really work for each other. So I want selfless players, really. I want players that respect the shirt and respect the team. That's really important. but we have to have an ambition to want to win, improve, get better, train hard, train often. I want players that can get out and train every day and push each other to be in the team. I want a team that can be robust and get through 40 odd games a season. All those things matter massively to me. So yeah, I think that desire to improve, to win and get better is the first one. The only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. That's my favourite saying ever. If you want to be successful, you got to graft at it, and that's like, I'd like to think I can set a good example to the players and the staff on that. But I know that the staff work incredibly hard, and the players have worked really hard so far, and we need 9 months of it.
Yeah, it goes back to recruitment. I'm sure you're a bit bored of this question at the moment. But yeah, I guess as it stands today, how many more players are you looking at?
No, I haven't got a number, to be honest. How well does everyone do? How well do the young ones do? Who's fit when the season starts? And how do we start the season? Who's still here in terms of one or two of the others? So yeah, there isn't really a number. You can chase numbers, but like, you can easily sign players. If they don't make you better, don't bother. If they can't do what you want them to do, don't bother. If you're signing too many players in the same position that are the similar type, don't bother. We need an ability to build a squad that can do lots of different things. We need to sign players that can have an opportunity to play in their best positions and do what they're best at. And if we can sign and find better ones than we've got, then we'll try and do it. If we can't, put your money in your pocket and don't bother spending it, because we've got a good group, we know what we're about, we've had a good month together, keep pushing, and if we can find better to add, then we will. But there's no real number on that. I'm quite comfortable with what we've got. You always want a bit more, you always want a bit more depth. We want the training level to maintain high and even get pushed higher, and we want to be a successful team, so we're always looking for better players and more of them, but they've got to fit the profile of what we're after, and they've got to be better than what we got.
I suppose with that as well, there sort of becomes opportunities. You never know the window what might come up, because when Marcus was announced on Monday, none of us saw that coming at all. None of us had really heard of him, not to be disrespectful, but obviously that came out of nowhere. I suppose with the market, is sort of things didn't come out of nowhere to take interest. I think that was quite Kenny Jackett was probably the man, but you had a lot to do with that deal as well. Yeah,
and always nice when they come out of nowhere, because no one knows about them. But a transfer rarely comes out of nowhere. It should be planned, it should be thought out. Marcus is a player that Kenny and Hess have watched for quite a while and been tracking and progressing or watching his progress. So whilst it comes out of nowhere from the outside world, there's an idea that one's been bubbling away for a while. So good, another addition to us, and a really hungry player that has an eye for goal and has to try and make that big jump to this level. So that's good, but that hunger in players, and almost signing players that are like desperate for the opportunity, desperate to play for Gillingham, all those things are good things, you know. So yeah, we're pleased with that one. And like I say, anything can happen anytime.
He was a teacher, wasn't he, last week or the week?
He was, yeah. One to talk to him about, interesting story.
In terms of outgoings, I suppose, we had 4 names made available for transfer. One of them is Scott Maloney's obviously now gone to Crawley. George Lapsley, Ashton Addison and Ollie Hawkins are here. Lapsley has been unfortunate with injuries. I don't think he's played a minute in pre-season yet, has he? Addison only played half an hour on Tuesday. Hawks is probably quite an interesting one for the fan base, because you've been deploying him as a centre-half in the games he's played so far. So what's the update, if any, on their future? And is with Hawkins, is there sort of potential that you'd see him more now as a centre-half option or than a striker?
I think he can play both. There's been a few examples of that in football, senior strikers that end up playing in both positions. He's played 80 games in the Football League as a centre-half, so there's no... it's not like a new thing. He's done it loads, particularly at Mansfield, played there a lot. And then pre-season, when you're trying to put 2 teams out and use the squad, that's what happens. But he's trained great character, played well. So yeah, no issues with him. Nada's had an injury in the summer, which has taken a bit of time to get over. So he played 30 at Dartford. He'll play a bit at Southend. Then we're taking the team to Southampton on Tuesday, so he'll play there as well. And Laps was training at the start. Had a tight quad that's kept him out a little bit, nearly came back but has been in and out. He's worked really hard the last couple of days. He should be back in training Monday with a view of maybe some minutes against Woking next Saturday, depending how he goes. So all of them, like I've said all along, until they're not our players, they're our players. And so we'll treat them as such, we'll train them as such, and we'll get them ready for as and when we need them or need to rely on them. And for them, I guess there is the same as everybody else, really, the same opportunity to be so good that they're no longer available. But in order for us to do what we need to do, that situation is still the same as it was in the summer, but it's a really fluid time and anything can happen. So I think what's really important for me is that when your players are here, you've got to treat them properly and look after them, and they're working well.
What manager from past or present do you admire and why?
Who's asked that? Fidel Naraj.
Yeah.
Excellent.
What's the question? Which manager from past or present? Sir Bobby Robson, who was Newcastle manager, England manager.
He was my favourite ever manager growing up. Bit of Alex Ferguson, but Bobby Robson was. I loved him. Loved the way he treated people. Loved the way he came across. Loved the way he spoke. Loved the empathy he had. Loved that players loved him. Was coach of some massive clubs. International manager. Coached abroad. Yeah, class. Absolutely loved him.
Love it.
So this comes in from Chris. He says Gillingham is of course your second job in management, obviously at Cambridge before where you won promotion from this division, and that nearly every manager suffers losing a job at some point, I think, unless you're Guardiola. But what experience has that given you, and has it made you even more determined to succeed?
I'm not sure that the losing your job bit has. No, I think when you do this job, player, coach, manager, like your desire to be successful is just huge. It's what you do. It's what most people judge you on, whether you win or lose, sadly, and in the end you get duped into judging yourself on that as well. So you have to try and be a bit more than that as a player, as a person, as a coach, that you don't simply judge yourself by the outcome of a game. But it's very hard not to. You have a real desire to win and to achieve and to be successful. So I don't think that changes. I don't think the desire is any greater, because that would suggest that it wasn't maximum in the past, and I don't know any other way than being all in and flat out for being successful. So that's just the way. So it hasn't made me more determined. It's made me wiser, because any experience you have is a good one. All the experiences that you have lead you into a good position where I had 201 games at Cambridge, and that serves me well for this. So yeah, I'm loving doing the job. I'd love to do it for another 20 years. And I'm sure if I do, there'll be a number of clubs that I end up doing it at. But I think part of football is that it's just cyclical, things change, people move. I think that's just how it works. So to have done pretty much 4 years at a club is pretty unheard of in this job. And so to move on to do it somewhere else gives me a real new excitement for something different. I think that's good. And I wouldn't say there's any big ticket items of this is the one big takeaway. Every day's a school day in this job, and you just learn so many things along the way that some I think you can pick up and transfer somewhere else, but a lot of the decisions you make as a manager are contextual around the situation and all the constraints or all the things that you find yourself with, and often that's very different from one week to the next, from one club to the next. So I don't think there's so many things that are just absolute transferable. So I think I've learned loads about myself. I'm miles better than I was 4 years ago, and in 4 years' time I'll be miles better still. I think that's just the mindset of wanting to get better.
Not being here too long, but has anything about this football club surprised you in sort of early?
I don't know if it's a surprise. I've really enjoyed how positive the place is, and there's a real energy about the place, which I've really enjoyed. I've felt that from day one with the owners, the board, the backroom team, the senior staff within the club, which I spent lots of time with in the off-season before the players returned. I've definitely felt that amongst our backroom team, coaching team. There's a brilliant vibe amongst us guys as well. And I've felt it with the players, many of whom were here last year. I think there's a real togetherness about the place. And also a real determination to want to do well. And I think some of that is really good, really focused, and some of that needs a bit of guidance or a bit of different ideas and a different slant on it, and that's my job, to offer my opinion to that and to try and say where I think we need to head to achieve what we all want to. So they would be my biggest takeaways, I think, from my first couple of months.
James says everyone is a football expert and everyone can manage a team better than the manager. Essentially, social media, everyone has an opinion, etc. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but he wants to know what is the best way you found can help you and a team be successful together.
think even in the toughest times, the most loyal fans turn up, whatever. But being present isn't always enough. I say this to the players. Like, you can just turn up, but if you're not active, like, come on. So it's really tough to ever say to supporters, do this. Like, in the end, football fans pay their money. They want some entertainment. They want to see their team like win, but give them something. That's why they're here. It's an entertainment sport. So, like, we have a massive side to the bargain of what, like, people will come if we deliver performances and results. More and more people will come. The potential here is huge. The atmosphere will be amazing if we deliver really good performances. But what I know about the level, and I know about professional sport, is that there's another team that want to do exactly the same. So it's never easy. Wanting to do it is never enough. So therefore, what you know is you go through loads of tough moments in games and in seasons, and that's when you find out what you're about, really, as a team and as a club. So it's in those moments, actually, I've very rarely found players and teams that respond to their own fans getting after them. There's only a few individuals that can handle that. My thing would be sing and support for your team until the final whistle goes. And if at the end it ain't right and you ain't happy, then fine, say what you want. But in the game, like, you got to be 100% in, because let's be honest, sometimes you could be rubbish for 80 minutes, have a brilliant last few minutes, win the game, and sometimes those ones are amazing. But I think when you've got a team and a group of supporters that are for each other and not against each other, it's miles more powerful. So that would be the biggest thing. If we can create a connection where supporters love watching their team, stick with them when it's difficult, and we create a team that gives them entertainment on as many days as possible and gets good results, we'll be onto something. So I do think, social media is about opinions. That's the whole point of it. So no problem. But while we're in the action, let's try and win together.
Sounds good. Two names that keep coming up during this summer. One being Jorge Hurtado and obviously Mr. Bradley Dack. Matthew's asked it. Do we have an interest in either of them?
You're not going to get much out of me on that, are you? I mean, I said before, I've met Brad. I've never met Jorge. I know he's been injured. I know he's missed bits. Kenny's met up with him in the summer. I don't see anything happening there. Bradley Dack, I don't know what the latest is on that. Conversations and things. Like, I've met loads of players. There's loads of players on that list that you haven't mentioned. We're looking to sign. We're looking to add. And as and when there's any news on that, we'll obviously announce it. But other than that, there's nothing really to say on that one, I'm afraid.
There you go. All of the 20-25 questions that we had on Bradley Dack.
And no one expected an answer. So.
There you go.
Anyway, what is the best thing about being at the football club at the moment?
Oh, it's July, so you could go to 92 football clubs in this country and everyone thinks they're going to win the league. That's how it works. Everyone's positive. Everyone starts on 0 points. Everyone thinks it's their season. So there's an optimism, sometimes a blind one. People forget how hard the season is, how long it is. Everyone can't wait for it to start, and yet 9 months, most of it in the dark and the cold, is really, really tough. So I love the fact that however many years you've been coming to football, most people forget how hard it is, how long it is, and how usually the seasons are never quite what you hope they're going to be. I love that everyone blindly forgets that every year, because as a loyal fan, like, every time we go into England tournaments we think we're going to win it. It's just like awesome. I love that time of year. Real positivity about it. That's a good thing, but at the same time there's a freshness and an energy which is good. But the real stuff starts soon, and that's where the team gets tested, that's where the club gets tested. So I look forward to that. But the best thing at the moment is just clean slate for everyone. 0 points all round, and everyone's optimistic, which is good.
Is it quite easy and nice to scroll down your social media at the moment? And it's just positive.
To be fair, I'm not on there. I was on there for the first 3 weeks being here, but now I'm off, unfortunately. I've banned and muted lots of accounts and banned lots of words because unfortunately I know what the truth of this job is. So I use social media for some news and some comedy, but very little football.
Do you just during this, obviously, because you reached out to us in the first few days of getting the job, is that the case then? As soon as the football season starts, you will just sort of disown yourself from it and not pay attention?
Yeah, all football stuff. Yeah, because usually it's stuff that's slaughtering you. So what value is that to me?
Yeah.
Like, my job is to make decisions informed from what I know and from my experience, not judged or guided by everyone else's opinion. So it doesn't help. It's not me being like thinking funny about it. That's just the reality of it. You can get bogged down with all of that. Like, it's just a waste of time, waste of energy. So trust your opinion in the people that you work with, make good decisions. People at the club that will tell me if there's anything really important I need to know. Other than that, most people telling you you're a hero one week and a whopper the next isn't a great roller coaster to jump on, to be honest.
So you won't have our podcast on a Monday morning?
I unfortunately won't. I unfortunately won't. So you can say what you want, because I'll be hearing it.
Obviously going back to the youngsters, we here at the football club, I would say we've got a proud tradition of bringing through youngsters. We've not. I think it's probably safe to say we've not had one come through since Jack Tucker properly into the first team.
Yeah, let's not mention who the one before that was.
I guess, what are your plans if they don't sort of hit the heights of getting into the squad every single week? What are your plans then for those younger players going forward?
Yeah, so interestingly, you have to have a club developed player on your team sheet. I don't know if people know this, but to have an 18-man squad, you have to have a club developed player on there. Otherwise, you can only name 17. So that creates a situation where a club developed player should make your squad in order to fill the bench, or you can't have the full allocation of substitutes. Funnily enough, Jack Tucker still counted as that player last year, even though he wasn't here, because he got sold before a certain age, so he counted even though he wasn't here. Strange rule, but that's why it will seem that's not a new rule. It's just it will become more apparent this year because of that. So that's the first thing. That gives someone an opportunity every week if you choose to do that. What you don't want to do is just keep people around for the sake of it, because those players need to play to get better, but you can't loan everyone out and leave your squad short either, and you want to try and create some pathways for players. We've got a lot of cup games, trophy games early on, which is the challenge for those boys to get involved in as well. And the opportunity's there for anybody, really. It doesn't really matter age. I've given out plenty of debuts in the past, so that's certainly not shy of doing that, but you've got to help us win, and then you get an opportunity. Sometimes those opportunities come about through design, but actually more often by chance. Most young players get their chance because people are injured or there's an issue and they have to just go in, and that's why as players, young players, you just have to be ready, because you actually don't know when your chance is coming. But they've had a really good exposure to us in the early part of pre-season. Again, I've never known any different to that. I've always worked with young players as the manager before. I always put young players in and around the squad and the team, so the opportunity's there for them. Loans is a big part of their programme. If they're not getting regular games, then they can go and do that elsewhere, and we can try and get them the right ones and monitor them, but they have to bring the best level in training. So there is no huge plan at the moment other than the opportunities here, and if it seems like that won't be there, then they can go and get their exposure elsewhere. Some are still scholars and able to play in the 18s, others can go and get loan football elsewhere, with the proviso that we can get them back quickly at any moment to be with us if we need them. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, but I think supporters always love a homegrown player. It's just a natural thing, and if players have been part of a club for a while, they just get it. They get the culture, they get everything about the club. So if we can do that, then great, and the opportunity will be there for those players. I think they've seen that in the first few weeks, but we won't give out debuts and appearances and being part of the team just willy-nilly. Like, if you're going to get in that dressing room, you're going to be in that team, you're going to have to earn it, and being in the first team is a special thing, and it should be hard fought for.
Yeah, this is something that I think is probably going to be formally announced maybe the week of the season. I think it generally is. But obviously the club captain last season was Sean Williams, who's obviously no longer with us. Max was the captain last season when Sean wasn't available on the field. Is that a choice you see carrying on into the new season?
I've not spoken to anyone about captain yet, so I definitely can't announce it here. I've not even had a conversation. I think the armband's been shared around a little bit throughout boys pre-season. There's some much there's a lot of priorities in the first few weeks. Naming a captain is like a little bit further down the list, and actually getting to know the lads a bit. Who are the natural leaders in the team? Who leads on what? Boys have been good. I've left them to their own devices on a few things, and you see who steps up and leads in certain moments. So that's been really interesting, and getting to know the characters is quite important. And yeah, someone will be named as captain and wear the armband, and they'll maybe have a vice captain, but there'll be a group of senior ones and leaders that can drive things. And it's a bit old hat, isn't it? But you don't have to wear the armband to be a leader. Some wouldn't want it, but lead in their own way. Some lead by the way they play or the way they work every day. Some are a bit more senior and will have a voice and an opinion on things. I think we need lots of different types of leaders in the team, and yeah, definitely as the build up to the season, I'll speak to the players about that.
Because I really like what Gareth Ainsworth used to do at Wycombe, where he had a group of 5 or 6 that basically run the dressing room for him. Pretty much.
I think that's quite common. A lot of clubs would do that. Have some sort of leadership group. We've got a good dressing room, good group of lads. There's some good senior ones. A few fine masters, a few holding court this week over a few of the boys and things like that. So yeah, some of the senior ones, some of the younger ones, but I don't know, sometimes like there's a strength in that, but at the same time you're then discounting others from being able to lead if they're not in it. Like everyone can lead and do their own thing, and we're not distant from the players as a coaching team. We're really close to them, with them all the time, speak to them all the time. So I don't feel like I need to pass on that to anyone. I'll lead the team, and plenty of them will manage different things in amongst it.
John asked if you had to predict a one to watch for the Gills this season, whether it be a breakthrough star or a current first team player who may have a big season, who would you pick?
I don't know really. The predictions are for you guys, aren't they? I can't make predictions. I think what you'd hope is we've got some match-winning players that score us goals and help us get wins. So who they'll be, I don't know. Hopefully it's lots of people. Hopefully we're not reliant on someone. If there's truth in the saying that the strength of the team is the team, then everyone should be contributing regularly, and on any given day someone can be the match winner, and that might be someone more regularly than others, but I think we've signed some good players, I think we've got some good players, and I think we've got some young ones chomping at the bit to want to contribute. So yeah, who it is I don't know, and hopefully there's plenty of players that have big seasons, but one to watch, I don't know. You all know them better than me. I'm learning about them all the time, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. And it's a long season. You can be good in the first few weeks, or you can be good Monday to Friday. You've got to be good on Saturdays regularly when it matters, and that's what I'm looking forward to seeing who is.
Who would you go for? Current first or breakthrough?
I think Jaden's done well in pre-season so far. Didn't get as many minutes at the end of last year. I still think obviously with injuries last year we didn't see the full potential of a Johnny Williams and what he can bring, so I'm hoping that obviously injuries aren't as big an occurrence this time around, so probably one of them. I think you could say Connor or Shab. I think they both did really well last year anyway, so there's a sort of expectancy for them now.
Your turn.
We're going to get on to actually some fun non-football ones in just a second. I wanted to ask just a personal one, just from obviously it went on a lot in the summer. We've now seen Dom Jeffries go on to Lincoln. Was there any sort of indication that he might be staying on? Because that was quite not like a big episode, but it lasted quite a long time, didn't it, until we made that move?
Yeah, I don't think there was ever, was there? Like there was a club contract offered months ago. The longer it doesn't get signed, it's pretty inevitable what happens. So, it was always open that he could come because we held compensation rights or retained his sort of contract rights. But I don't think that was ever likely that he was staying. It was just a case of club agreeing with another club and the right interest coming up. He's joined a brilliant club. Really good opportunity for him. He's a great lad. I think it's a good move for him, and it was a good move for the club in the end. I wasn't surprised by that at all. I think from day one when I arrived, I didn't expect him to be here.
Okay, so these ones are going to be more about Mark Bonner the person as opposed to Mark Bonner the football manager or coach. But firstly, let's say something that Gills fans won't know about you that you'd consider to be an interesting fact.
I'm not sure there's anything interesting. I don't know, something people don't. I really like politics and I really like music. How boring is that?
You're going to open up a whole can of worms if you go into that, aren't you?
Yeah.
Alright, quick fire then. Favourite TV show?
The Office.
Which one, UK or US?
UK, always.
Good.
David Brent.
you think you've got a bit of Brent in you?
Yes. Lots.
Do you need a dance where the camera's on?
No.
It's quite a standard one that people ask. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yeah. Why not? Yes.
It's fruit.
It's fine.
I didn't ask the question.
You have tomato base. Tomatoes are fruit. Next.
Yeah, fair enough. Dream five-a-side team. You have to be one of the players.
You wouldn't want that. Dream five-a-side team. In goal, Darren Ibrahim. Safe pair of hands. James Russell and Pete Gill. Back two. Solid. Anthony Hayes. Dog in midfield. Biting at people's shins. Lovely range of passing. Paul Timpson, Minty, physio. Big target man up the top. Good side.
God, feels gutted he's missed out.
Yeah, no chance.
This one I think comes from the aspect of Cambridge being quite synonymous with rowing apparently, which I found out this morning.
Yeah, from me.
Are you really good at rowing?
No. Can't fit in the boat. Punting. That's about it. No, not a rower at all.
Favourite meal deal?
Cool. Duck wrap.
Oh, fair enough.
Salt and vinegar squares. Summer fruits oasis.
Strong.
Before we finish off, what would be your favourite album?
Oh wow. Oasis Morning Glory.
Alright.
David Gray Babylon. White Ladder album. Maybe. Killers Hot Fuzz. Frank Sinatra's greatest hits.
Strong.
Can Greatest Hits be classed as an album?
Yes. Yes, for this question.
Fair enough. Well, there you have it. That's been the ME7 Podcast fan Q&A with Mark Bonner. Mark, thanks again for coming on. Much
Pleasure.
appreciated.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, just 2 weeks till the season gets up and running. I'm sure we'll see all of you there for some more content in the weeks and days to come.